Your ears do not deceive you. You have just entered the Cryptid Creator Corner, brought to you by your friends at Comic Book Yeti. So without further ado, let's get on to the interview.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Yeti's Cryptid Creator Corner. I am one of your hosts, Jimmy Gasparo, and I am very excited for today's episode. I feel like this person I've seen a ton on like social media and I'm familiar with a lot of their work, but not too much of their comics work because they've done a lot of different things in terms of outlets that they have written for, and I'm very excited to talk to her tonight. She has a new Supernatural comic coming out through Dynamite. It is a Valentine's Day issue. She also has Strange Tales with a Marvel Infinity, and a graphic novel coming out in July, House of Harkness. So please welcome to the podcast, Preeti Chhibber. Preeti, how are you doing
Hi.
today?
Doing well. I'm so excited. I always joke that I'm like, I am always ready to talk about Supernatural whenever anyone wants to talk about it. I am game.
Oh, great. So, because I had Greg Pak on, who is,
Mm.
writing for the Dynamite Supernatural comic as well, and I was talking to him about it. So I didn't know that they were doing this special Valentine's Day episode. I think that's awesome. I'll let you talk about, what it's actually about, but before that, I kind of wanted to get into like what is your relationship with with Supernatural, because a show that had 15 seasons,
Uh-huh.
there's a lot. It's pretty dense. Um and I'll say I said it before with when Greg was on, but my brother and my brother Bobby, we watched every episode. It was like our activity when he first told me about it. He's like, "Hey, there's this new show coming on, and it's like two brothers and they hunt demons." And he's like, "Do you want to watch it?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." And like he's my younger brother, but he moved out of the house first. So he had his own place and I was still living with our parents. And it was like our thing to get together and hang out and watch. And I mean, we got through all of it. I will say there were a couple of times around, like, if you're familiar with it, the Leviathan season where we're like, they can't bring it back. They can't possibly bring it back, right? And like we're pot committed at that point. We gotta be all in and watch the whole thing. But we did it. We're huge fans, so excited to see that Dynamite is doing stuff with Supernatural comics. So how about you?
I'm a child of the WB, so
Oh,
I've been there
okay.
since the beginning because I was like, oh, Dean from Gilmore Girls. You got Eric Brady from Days of Our Lives doing a show together where they hunt demons. Like I'm 100% in. So I've been watching it forever. Uh, and it's so funny you say the Leviathan because I love the Leviathan season. I didn't even know that like people didn't like it. I was talking my sister also, the two of us really love the show. We watch it together and I was talking to her about it and she was like, "Oh yeah, people don't like the Leviathan season." And I was like, "What? I love the Leviathan season. How dare?" So,
Yeah.
it's so I mean, I've seen it multiple times. I've done like the entire season or the
You've
entire
done
series.
you've done the entire series more than once?
Yes. More than
Wow.
'cause what I used to do is, like, when a new season was coming out, I would rewatch leading up to the new season.
Okay. Wow.
I love
You are a
this
fan.
show.
I mean, I do love it too. I don't know that I could sit and watch, like, all of it again. I could probably go through, like, certain episodes. Like, there are things that I love to go back and, like, there's certain episodes I would put on and watch again that I just felt like, from top to bottom were, like, fantastic episodes. But yeah, I don't know if I could do the whole season, like, again from beginning to end. That is a lot.
There would be some I'm sure there are, like, some episodes that I would skip that I'm like, "Oh, this one's not my favorite," but I would end up like, right now, I'm in the middle of a rewatch with a friend of mine who has never seen it, so we're watching it together, and she's like, "I cannot watch every episode of 15 seasons, like, I can't. I'm an adult, like, I can't do it." And so, like, "Okay, let me make it curated." I'll make it curated. We're on season 13 right now, And the problem is that I'll, like, look through the seasons and I'm like, "Well, we should watch this one because it's a really good Dean episode." And, like, "We should watch this one because, like, Sam is so good in it." So I convince myself where we end up watching more episodes than not of a particular season, and she's like, "What are you I told you I'm an adult. I have responsibilities."
Um, that's amazing. So just like what are some of what are some of your favorite episodes? Like what are some of the ones that you think are like, "Oh, I could never," if anyone ever said like, "Give me a couple of supernatural
Oh my
episodes,"
god.
then I know. I you have so many to choose from.
You're like, "Do you want supernatural, like, Kripke era? Do you want supernatural, like, when it kinda goes off the rails?" Like, there's so many angles to, like, "Hey, give me a few supernatural episodes." I feel like what I love about Supernatural is, like, yes, people are like, "Oh my god, it's 15 seasons, that's so much TV." Every season has good episodes. Every single season, all the way through 15,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
don't know that every show can say that. Like, I'm not saying every season is perfect top to bottom. I think we all have our favorites and all have our least favorites, but every single season up through season 15 has really strong, amazing episodes.
So let's do it this way. Um, let's take out like the underlying mythology of it all. If somebody was like, "Just give me a really good monster of the week. I don't need to
Ooh.
know anything about it." Like one of my favorite episodes is I don't think they called it Krampus. I think they called it Black Peter,
Oh,
the
the
Christmas
yeah.
episode.
Yeah, that's a
I,
good one.
I really like that episode is one that I feel like um is a lot of fun. I
That's a
thought
good
that was a
one.
good episode.
I love Bad Day at Black Rock is one of my
Oh,
favorites. It's such a good
yeah.
one. This one you do have to know the lore, but I love Lazarus Rising, I think is just one of the best TV episodes, period. It's just good TV writing. And what one of my favorite character introductions of all time, like Castiel's introduction is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
The French Mistake, of course, is a perfect supernatural episode.
Whenever they got meta,
The
I was
meta
like, "Oh,
stuff is always fun.
we're
Fan
in for something
fiction is
special."
so good.
Yeah.
Like, I love
The
the,
episode where they find when they meet Chuck, and
mhm.
they find out that that he's been writing the books and there are
It's so
conventions
good.
and that people ship the 2 of them and they learn, like, what all that is.
Like,
Like, it was such an interesting look at the fandom that surrounded Supernatural and brought it into it, and yeah, that was really
there's
good.
so many just I love the I'm not always good with with episode names, but the Black and White Monster episode, the classic Hollywood Monsters episode is one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a great episode too. Yeah.
There's so many good ones. There's so many good ones.
No, there are. Like I said, I'm a big fan, and I really like love the show. I just don't know that I could go back and watch certain episodes. I don't know if I could do all 15 seasons
I
again,
just love the
but yeah,
journey. I love the journey.
yeah. Well, so tell me now, as a fan, and Dynamite's doing this comic, and they have the license. And how do you get involved in writing like Supernatural? Did you have to like? Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you and ask for like pitches? How did that happen?
So I know Greg. Greg and I know each other pretty well. We've been friends for a long time through like comics stuff and and being Asian comic creators. And so when I found out Greg was writing Supernatural, I texted him and I was like, I'm the biggest Supernatural fan that you know. Like, you know that, right? Like, you know that I'm like losing my mind that you're writing Supernatural. He was like, okay,
That's
relax.
awesome.
And I was like, "I can't relax." But so I ended up being a, like, supernatural consultant on his on his books, which has been really fun, where I basically am like, "This sounds like Dean." Like, going
Oh,
through the
that's
scripts, which
great.
has been really great. And then he messaged me back in October to be like, "Oh, Dynamite wants to do this Valentine's Day special. Would you be interested? Because then I'll tell them to reach out." And I was like, "Are you joking?" Because obviously.
Yeah. Does borax kill a leviathan?
I
That's a supernatural joke, nerds. Well, Preeti got it, and my brother Bobby got it.
Oh, Bobby.
Yeah, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was like it happened really fast where they, it's this kind of work is often happens very, very quickly. So I basically like pulled together a pitch really quickly. I was like, this is what I think the story could be. Um, very like quick, sort of 2 paragraph situation. And they were happy with it. And then I like banged out a script and turned that in like the week of Thanksgiving. And then there we go.
Wow. Now that did happen fast. Like, did you have, in terms of your pitch, did you have like parameters that they gave you, or you're just like, all right, I know this lore, this is kind of what they're looking for, and I'm ready to go.
They wanted it to be set around the same time as Greg's run. It's not a part of Greg's run, so, like, they were like, "It can be the story can just be, like, sort of monster of the week, where I can just, like, do my thing for one issue." It just needed to be set around the same era, in that, like, season 1, season 2 time. But other than that, that was it. They were like, "Go to town, do whatever you want," basically, and I was like, "Awesome."
What was your process like to come up with, because there's so many different monsters that have been used throughout the season, and I mean, I even talked about that with Greg when he was on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, you know, I would struggle if I ever had an opportunity to write like, a a superhero comic or something with that much backstory, with the monster of the week, and it's like, all right,
Well,
who
they've done
haven't
it over here, and they've done it
yeah,
over here, and there's all this lore.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I decided to go mythological with it because while they have a lot of, obviously like religious aspects to the show, it is sort of like very Western centric in its approach. They'll sometimes have other religions show up, but it's very fleeting. So I was like, oh, I'm going to use Hinduism. I'm going to use like my background and see if I can pull something out of my like culture and religion to drop into this story. And so it's the Hindu goddess of love is who I decided to go with because she has this. Her myth is this like sort of wonderfully tragic myth, and I thought it could parallel what Sam is dealing with at the time really nicely.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's true. I mean, when and that you see that with a lot of television shows when they have to go to something, even like supernatural, but something paranormal or something mythological. It's very much Greek, Roman. You
Mhm.
know, they'll throw in Egyptian just because it's been kind of well known since the U.S. has been obsessed with anything Egyptian since like the 1920s. Um, but yeah, they don't do a lot, and it's such there's so many things in terms of like Eastern cultures that have such a rich heritage. I mean, like my experience with like comic books, and you look at some of the things that like Ron V has done with like the many deaths of
Yes.
Layla Starr and things
So
like
good.
rare flavors, and you look at some of those things, and you're like, oh yeah, there is just some of us white folks who have been sheltered, we are missing out on so much really excellent myth and storytelling. It's true. Don't
It
laugh.
is, there's a lot of, like, cool stuff that exists, and I can understand when you're, like, coming at it from a TV show and you're like, I don't when it's, like, something you're not as familiar with, you're like, "I wanna be a little careful in how I'm approaching this and what I'm taking and what I'm using." I do think, like that's why I was like, "I'm gonna do it."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, let's go.
No, absolutely. If you could have said it in any time period, is there a supernatural character that you're like, okay, Sam and Dean, but if I ever had the chance to write somebody,
Ugh, I love Cass. Cass is my favorite. Like, sort of like mid timeline, mid seasons, like sort of like from that like 4 to like 9-ish era Cass. Like
yeah,
I love him and I would love to write him. And obviously, like this was not the time. I was like, oh, if only.
yeah,
But Cass is so wonderful. I feel like it would be so fun to write, like, trickster era Gabriel would be really enjoyable.
yeah,
Um, that would be a good time. Charlie, I would love to write Charlie. They have so many and Crowley, obviously, Crowley would be such a blast to pull into.
Yeah.
Like any type of storyline with them would be
Yeah, I
a good
was a
time.
big Crowley fan, and yeah, my brother Bobby and I went to Ireland in March of 24 to celebrate my 45th birthday, and he'd never been to Ireland, so we took a trip, and while we were there, it just happened to be Dublin Comic Con, and
Oh, nice.
we met the actor that plays Crowley
Mark
at Dublin
Shepherd. That's
Comic Con. Yeah, we
awesome.
met Mark Shepherd. Yeah, he was very funny and very nice, and my brother was very excited. So
Oh, how cool.
that
That's
was pretty
neat.
cool. Yeah, yeah, but Crowley would be a really like fun one to write. Yeah, absolutely. That would be pretty cool. Well, hopefully they'll keep going with the series and do more of these, you know? Not yeah, I'll not I'm sitting at a wood table. I'm not going wood for you. I'd like to see you try your hand. You get to write casts.
Oh, yes.
that would be fantastic.
My
And
angel,
who are
I
you
love you.
um and who are you working with in terms of who's doing the art?
Pasquale Quailano is doing the art, and I just actually saw interiors, and they're so cool. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's going to be out in early February, right?
February 4th.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, is it and it's did I read correctly? Is it like an oversized issue?
Yeah, it's, I'm, like, trying to remember how many 28 pages
Oh, that's
is
fantastic.
what I wrote, which means I think it's 32? I feel like they print in reams of 32, I wanna say.
No, that's pretty cool. It's just so great to, you involved in like fan stuff, like stuff that you're a fan of and get the opportunity to do something like this. And like, I saw the cover of it and I was just like, "Oh god, that's got to be so awesome to." And I just knew some of the things that you were, involved in and have written about before. I did not know at the time when I first reached out that you were such like a huge Supernatural fan. That makes it even better. That is just so fantastic, you know. Because I know with Greg, when I was talking to him, he was like, "Yeah, I watched it. I watched some stuff." It's like, no, I mean, I trust Greg. Greg's a great writer. I've gotten like I've read issue 1. I really like the series that he's doing. But yeah, it is kind of cool to see somebody who's like a really big fan get a chance to, to write those characters.
'Cause I'm so
You know,
annoying. I'm like, "Let me do it."
yeah, they should. They should let you do it. I'm glad you're getting a chance to do it. What do you think, a show that lasts 15 seasons, it is extraordinarily rare in
Yeah.
television today, especially with, like, streaming shows. Like, we hear a lot about when, and you can read a million articles about, "Oh, Netflix canceled this show after 1
Ugh, I
season,"
know.
or, whatever it might be. And I have to imagine that there's something about, Supernatural that kept it on the air for 15 years and that like makes you a fan and makes you, want to write stories for these characters. Like what do you think it was about Sam and Dean? Like what was that mix between like the actors and the writing? What do you think it was for you?
I think I do think that Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles they just have excellent, like, brotherly chemistry, and, when you watch something, you can tell people are having a good time? Like, you can tell people are happy to be working on the thing. Like, I think that's part of it is you could see that there was, like, care and joy, and just, like, excitement about the thing that they were working on, and then the story and the arc they told over those first 5 seasons, like Eric Kripke's, his brainchild, the whole from beginning to the end of season 5 is so strong, and it's such, like they, like, pull you in slowly with, like, "Oh, yeah, monster of the week," like, "Dad's gone hunting, he's missing," like, we don't all of that. They pull you in slowly, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Angels? Demons? Lucifer? Like, what is happening?" So I feel like having this really, really strong basis and pulling people on for the ride, and at the time, you could do full season 23 episodes for multiple seasons,
Right.
and by that point, you're hooked. You have this, like, fan base that deeply, deeply loves the show and deeply loves the characters, and actors who deeply love the show and deeply love the characters. And I think it's just like, and creators and writers, that it's this like perfect storm of like like the equation for longevity, basically.
Yeah, it does seem like they had something in the mix there that not too many shows are able to find. I mean, I think it helped the cast initially was with just the two main characters and
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan coming in a little bit and Bobby coming in, James Beavers coming in like a little bit for episodes, so you didn't have a big cast. But it is amazing, like when the characters come in, like when they introduced Castiel and the stayed strong in like through all those seasons and like was like a mainstay of the cast. It is amazing to think you come in and like, oh, what when they first introduced season
Season
6 or
4
were
for
they introduced in
Cass.
season 4? Yeah.
Yeah.
And to then to stay through season 15, but yeah, it's a pretty great show. So, and I'm really excited that they're doing stuff with comics now. And so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait to read the Valentine's Day issue. I'm so excited.
I'm so
Um
nervous.
I'll let you know. I'll send you secretly. I'll be like, it was really great. Or maybe they'll do another one.
Oh no.
No, I'm kidding. Um Let's talk about some of the other stuff you have coming out, because you have Secret Tales, which
Mm-hmm.
looks. I mean, I've only seen a couple of like preview pages for it. I haven't had a chance to like read any of it yet, but that looks adorable. Like I just like the one picture of like Scarlet Witch and I don't know, running some type of animal sanctuary, I guess. But
It's really cute. It's currently ongoing on Marvel Unlimited, although I'm not sure when this episode is dropping. It might be done by the time the episode drops. It's like 6 issues. I don't know if that is public, but it's 6 issues. That's what I wrote.
okay,
And it's just this like it's part of Marvel's like Friday Funnies. So they're shorts. They're like 15 panels. And there's something very like Sunday comics page about it, like newspaper comics page, where you're
right,
just getting a brief glimpse into the silly little thing that Scarlet Witch is going through for the week. And every episode is her helping another magical animal. So the first issue is Venom Mouse, which is like a newish character from, I want to say 2020, I think April 2025. But he's looking for a dream. He's a mouse who wants to find a dream. And so Scarlet Witch helps him figure out what his dream is. And it's really cute.
yeah. I'm sharing my screen. That's you can see that, right?
Yes. Oh, I love Venom Mouse. So cute.
Yeah, I had no idea. Venomouse is that's wonderful. I mean, I've always I love the idea of and I'm more familiar with the DC ones, but I always love the idea of like the animal heroes or um the animal, the pets being involved, like,
Mhm.
um Supergirl had a cat at one point, and well, there's Comet the horse, and like Wonder Woman had Jumpa the kangaroo, and yeah, seeing some of the ones on for the for Strange Tales. Um, what what's the deal with the cow or the bull and
Hell Cow.
it,
It's Hell Cow.
I I am not
We
familiar
love
with Hell Cow.
we
Please
love
tell
Hell
me
Cow.
all about.
Hell Cow has been around since like I feel like the 70s. Like I think I want to say Hell Cow's first appearance was in like a Howard the Duck issue,
Okay,
which tracks.
yeah,
Um Hell Cow is a vampire cow.
yeah, okay,
And and
I love
and
it.
Hell Cow has a baby named Hell Calf. I love
See,
comics.
I know, I do too. Yeah, great. Now because I my hobby is a comic creator podcast, I'm gonna be at my local shop this weekend trying to see if I can track down the first appearance of Hell Cow. What a what a wonderful hobby. Um, Um, but when you get to do something like this, and kind of similar to what we talked about with Supernatural and figuring out like, oh, what am I going to use if I'm doing like a Monster of the Week thing? Like you're doing this stuff for Marvel, and
Mhm.
you got the premise is Scarlet Witch, and animals show up at the last door, and she kind of helps them, or does what she does. Like, do you already have a list of animal characters you like want to work with? Or are you going to like the Marvel encyclopedia and just like, all right, which ones can I use? Like, did you know of Hell Cow before this? And
I did know of Hellcow before this. This is one that, the editors, Farah Javed and Alana Smith they came to me to be like, "We wanna do this, like, little, like, animal thing where Wanda helps, magical animals out." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I wanna use Bats," because I love Bats the ghost dog. He's one of my favorites. But other than that, they, like, pulled together a list of, like, a whole bunch of potential animals because that's one thing about this where you're like, Marvel's catalog is so big that sometimes you're like, "I don't even know where to start." So you look to Marvel editorial to be like, "At least give me a starting point." And so it was
right.
this list of, like, 10 to 15, I feel like, and we just sort of I was like, "Oh, Hellcow would be really fun to do." Venom Mouse, of course, would be awesome, and because he's so new. I should have said Venom Mouse was created because it's so recent. Erica Schultz and Dylan Burnett created him
Okay.
earlier last year. And so
Oh,
there are
nice.
these like, and Donny Cates did bats based on I think his dog, which I also deeply love. And so it's just picking out all these like you're like, what would be the most fun? Like, what would be the where could I bring in the most like absurd hijinks for Wanda to get into, and that's kind of where it starts, where you're like,
Uh,
"These are Friday funnies, they need to be silly and fun and short and snappy."
yeah. What do you think, that you've done previously in terms of, it doesn't have to be necessarily like other writing, but just other things that you've been involved in, how you were raised that prepared you to kind of deliver like quick, snappy, fun, silly? Is it just part of your personality? Is it like the family you grew up in? Like what do you think best prepared you for that?
The best example I can give of this was when I was 15 or 16. I was a huge Backstreet Boys fan, like,
Okay.
huge Backstreet Boys fan, and so my friend and I had a Backstreet Boys website that was like a fan. We'd like learned HTML. We like did the whole thing so that we could have a Backstreet Boys website. But then I made a second Backstreet Boys website where I made fun of them. Like I was like firing on both fronts. I was like, I love you guys, but also I have a lot of jokes I need to get out about who you are. So I had both my like fan site where it was just like, oh my God, they're so hot. I love their music. And then aren't they ridiculous dorks? Here are all of the jokes I'm gonna write and the parody song lyrics I'm gonna write for their music. And that is who I have always been.
Was Was the second site with your friend as well, or you're just like, this is a solo project?
She was involved because she was a little bit better at like the tech side than I was. So like
Okay.
I feel like I don't know how to make this a button.
Oh, oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so,
I like that you did parody lyrics too. Like
Oh yeah.
I was raised on Weird Al,
Yep,
so,
big influence.
parodies. Ah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I was a huge Weird Al fan. I mean, I used to I still remember when I got the, um, whatever album of his had Lasagna on it and Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White, and yeah, I used to perform songs for my like, I had a little cassette tape I can't believe I'm telling this story on the podcast. I used to put the cassette tape in and, like, I wouldn't do, like, La Bamba, I would do the Weird Al songs, I would perform them, like, for my family.
That's awesome.
Like, I'd make them not watch TV and watch me sing. I was probably 9 or 10. Yeah, Lasagna was a big hit in my house.
I think there's part of that where it's like you grew up with that kind of absurdist, ridiculous humor, and it just like one of my favorite TV shows that I've again also seen multiple times is Scrubs. Like I love that kind of snappy, funny, like very funny and but also very heartfelt style of humor that is
Yeah.
just it was like kind of pervasive at the time and it heavily influenced my approach.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a big Bill Lawrence fan who
Love.
did Scrubs and does Shrinking now. If anyone's
Mhm.
watched Shrinking, but yeah, I really like his approach to writing television, to writing character, and yeah, when you have a cast like that Scrubs cast, um, it's Donald Faison and Zach Braff and like John C. McGinley, and Sarah Chalk. They were just yeah.
So
Uh,
funny.
yeah, a big influence as well, just in terms of trying to really ride that line of we can be funny, we can also be serious. Like this show doesn't have to be one thing,
Yeah.
so you
Yes.
had that quippy dialogue. Yeah,
But also
yeah,
they'll tear your
that's
heart out and throw it on the ground.
oh, oh yeah.
Where do you think you
I
are right now? You're like,
oh,
"Ah."
oh my god. Yeah, I was just gonna say every once in yeah, I just sent that clip came up on social media, I think because of the Scrubs, like, reboot or, the
Mhm.
the reunion, whatever the show that they're doing now, and I sent it to my brother, and he just sent back. He's like, "Why? Why would you?"
I
I
know.
just sent him the clip of the scene where John C. McGinley, goes there and is talking to Brendan Fraser, and then,
Ugh, my
if
heart.
listeners, if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch Scrubs. Just it's
Go
on
watch all of
streaming
Scrubs, not season
somewhere.
9, but watch seasons
What's
1
the
through
other
8.
stuff? The other stuff. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
sent it to my brother, and he was like, "Why would you do that?" He's like, "It's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. I'm at work. I can't start crying." Oh, absolutely. Alright, and then the other thing you have coming out this summer is House of Harkness.
Mhm.
So, tell us about, House of Harkness.
So House of Harkness was originally a Marvel Unlimited comic that came out in 2024. That was 15 issues, and now it's coming out in print, which I'm really excited about. And it's basically magical girls' school alternate universe for Wanda Maximoff, Agatha Harkness, like just a bunch of. We had a blast. Like Doctor Strange is there, Stephen Strange. He's not a doctor because he's 16, but like
Oh,
Stephen Strange is there, Loki is there, like
you
and
didn't
it's
Doogie
this
Howser Doctor
I
Strange?
didn't do no. He does wanna be the best student at school. He's like, he's, but it's basically like a magical boarding school of like Wanda's the new girl who shows up and Agatha's the queen bee, and it was just so delightful, and it has art from Jodi Nishijima and this like very fun shoujo manga style, excuse me. And it's really fun. It's just a very sweet school story that we got to do and people liked, and so they're printing it, which is really exciting.
Oh, that's awesome. And that'll be out in July.
July. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. What did you like most about getting to, when you were working on that for Marvel Unlimited to get to do in terms of like the magical girl school? Because I know in like some of your prose writing, like you've done like romantic comedy type of stuff
Mhm.
before, and now and we can talk about that, book as well. Um, but to do like a magical school type of stuff and have those characters in a school setting, which I think can be kind of tough, because you want to you're de-aging the characters from what
Mhm.
we're used to seeing in terms of the Marvel universe, but you still have to make them interesting and compelling, and you can't take it down too much. Like even if you're writing for, you know, YA or younger readers, um, you know, kids or young readers or whomever it might be, you want to appeal to like a lot of folks,
Mhm.
and they always pick up on way more than, you know, authors think they do, or certain authors think they do. So how do you kind of find that balance between making the characters recognizable, but then making them maybe a little more relatable in like that type of setting?
I think what's fun is I think everybody loves a coming of age story, no matter how old you are, you love a coming of age because I don't think we ever stop coming of age. You're constantly changing, you're constantly shifting who you were to who you might want to be to who you are. You like all of those things and so you relate to that notion of a character going on a journey, regardless of age, I think. So that's part of it. And then the other part is that there's such a deep love for Marvel characters, and people enjoy seeing them put into different situations and different scenarios. And so you'll have it's how you have all the different universes that exist within Marvel. So you've got the 616, you've got all of these various versions of character, like even something like the Spider-Verse, the comic series. I mean, the Dan Slott event that came out many, many years ago, where you just got to see iterations of Peter Parker, iterations of Spider-Man, not just Peter Parker, but iterations of Spider-Man from all over the various universes. And people love it. They're just like, I do want to see the different ways my favorite character can exist if you pluck them out of their mainline story and drop them into this other thing. And so you have your certain truisms about the character. So Wanda is still Wanda. She's driven, she's smart, she's very good at magic, she's ambitious, but she's 16 and she's the new girl in school. And so she's feeling a little awkward and a little uncomfortable and having to make new friends. So it's actually quite easy. And then you work with Marvel Editorial, obviously, and they know the characters and can tell you, no. So you're okay on that front.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they rein you in if you ever go too far.
Yes.
How are you with taking notes in terms of editorial?
I've been doing what we call IP work, so that's intellectual property. It's other
Yeah,
people's characters. We
sure.
say, you're playing in someone else's sandbox for many years now. And
Wow.
so you just kind of have to accept it. Like when I did one of my first books in IP that I did was a Spider-Man Far From Home movie tie-in. So I did this little middle grade illustrated travel journal that was basically Peter, Ned, and MJ writing their travel diary from Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right. Was that
And
just real quick, that wasn't your first time writing Peter Parker, was it?
that was my first time writing Peter Parker.
Oh, okay.
It
All
was the
right.
movie Peter Parker. And it was so funny because I wrote this whole manuscript and I wrote it very quickly. And I had this thread because it's all written in first person with Peter, MJ, and Ned sort of taking turns writing their things. And Peter had this thing, it was like a shared journal that they were writing in together. And Peter had this thing in my first draft where he would tell bad jokes in the book. He would write out his bad jokes and his friends would be like, oh my God. And it was hashtag Peter, PBJs, Peter's bad jokes. And the note I got from the studio at the time was our Peter wouldn't do this. This is not who our Peter is. And I had to take a step back and be like, you're right. That's my Peter Parker. That's the Peter Parker that I from the comics and the version of Peter Parker. Because every writer has their version of these characters. And I was like, oh, yeah. That's not, you're right. That's not your Peter Parker. You're correct. He's not that kid in your movies. So I had to take a step back from my my understanding of who my version of that character was and write their version of that character. And that was a very good lesson for me to learn very early on. And of course, no one at Marvel is no, you can't. There are very rarely they're no, you can't. It's always a conversation when it's, some kind of original story. I did a series of prose Spider-Man novels of
Mhm.
a totally different Peter Parker 16 years old, and he's my Peter. I got to decide who this Peter Parker was, which was really fun. So there's always a conversation, but at the end of the day I'm it's your sandbox and I am just playing in it. So I know that everyone is very cool and we will have our conversations, and for the most part no one's ever been absolutely not to me. In anything that I've done that is comics or original book stuff, no one has said no, except one time when I tried to have basically I was and then Captain America shows up and then Iron Man shows up and then the Sinister Six show up, and my editor was you need to take a step back. You are doing too much. I was all right, you're
Hey,
right.
It's worth a try, I guess, right?
I got too excited.
Um, well, but before I let you go, I also wanted to talk to you about, I guess it was in 20, I almost said last year, but we're just into 2026 here. But in 2024, you had um a uh I don't know if it's like, is it, if it's considered like YA, I guess it's YA, but Pael, if I'm saying that correct, Meta's
Mhm.
romance revenge plot.
Yeah. I put out a YA rom-com.
Yeah.
They
I
call it
saw that when I was looking at your, looking at your website and getting ready to talk to you about this, and I saw that and I was like reading the description of it and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds awesome." Like, yeah, let's talk about that.
it is, somebody tagged me in a review on Instagram that was like, "This is the funniest book about racism I've ever read."
Okay.
And I was
There's
like,
a
"I'll take it."
so so tell me what it's all about,
So
other
it's
than the funniest book you'll read about racism.
So I believe very strongly that kids should be allowed to be imperfect in the way that they learn things and the way they talk about things. And my friends and I, when I was in high school, like we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how we were talking about things. And we just had to sort of navigate it in this very awkward, uncomfortable, funny way. And so that was the energy I wanted to bring to this book. And the book is about this girl, Bile, who has been in love with the hottest guy at her school forever. This like handsome white kid who's like really sweet. My friend's like, you need to write a spin-off about this boy. And I'm like, all right, relax. But she's been in love with him forever. And like through a series of events, they end up at like a lunch together and it's going really well. And she's like, oh my God, we're laughing. Like we're having a good time. Like maybe this is gonna go somewhere. And he's like, you have to meet my Indian friend. And she's like, what? But I thought we were vibing. And so she decides to join up with her like rival at school through again a series of events, convinces him to like be like, we have to get this guy to like fall for me. And of course, it's enemies to lovers. So you can take from that what you will. But
Right.
it's just this like very funny, sweet story about figuring out who you are when the world is telling you you're one thing and like you feel like another and all of these like what is identity, like what does it mean to be American, what does it mean to be a child of immigrants, like all of those things through the lens of a romantic comedy and all the trappings there. And it was very influenced by like early aughts rom-coms. It's like she's all that 10 things I hate about you, like all of that stuff is in this book.
Nice. Yeah, I'm familiar with all of those. Every one they put out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it looks adorable, and it does look like really fun. And yeah, I was reading the description of it and I was like, "Oh, this sounds great, We can talk about this. We don't have to just talk about comics, We I like other things. I listened to 50 books last year. I'll have listeners know, and they were, right, so we do other stuff. But yeah, that looks great. So I wanted listeners to know about that because I think it looked really really cool. And it reminded me a little bit of I the just a little bit in terms of some of the things, but like the Netflix show, like
Never
Never
have
Have
I
I
ever.
Ever.
Mhm.
Yeah, a little bit of that vibe, which I thought that was I really enjoyed that show. I really liked that they had the narrator uh be John McEnroe. I just thought that was kind of like a funny bit in the show. But the whole cast of that show is incredible, and the writings I thought really good as well. But in
Yeah,
any,
it's very funny. Very
yeah.
funny.
But all right, well, I definitely want to read the funniest that somebody on, was
I know,
it
I was like,
Goodreads
"This
or
is"
Instagram, said the funniest book about racism.
I was like, "This is awesome. Put it on the book."
Yeah, just, put that blurb right on the back.
Right there.
Right. Well, that's great. That's fantastic. So, all right, Pio Meta's romance revenge plot. All right. That's great. Well, um, Preeti, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and hopefully you had a nice time, and we'll come back, especially if you get to do more supernatural. But uh, good luck with your friend getting through the next, I guess, 2 to 3 seasons. You're on season 13
We're
now?
on season 13. Uh-huh.
All right.
We got
I
good stuff
can't
ahead.
wait. Yeah, real good stuff. I can't wait. I want to know like what they have thought about, the whole experience.
I mean, it's really funny. Part of the reason we did it is because when the series finale was happening, and it was just like, it's my favorite thing in the world that Supernatural has never truly ended. Like, it will never truly end. Supernatural is forever. I was sending her all the memes and all of the, like, everything that was going on and all the, like, just all of it. I was just, like, talking her ear off about everything, and she was like, "I don't understand any of this. I have to watch the show." And I was like, "You do." And so we've been slowly going through it since, like, I think we've been watching it because she's not local. So she's several states away from me. So we watch it virtually together.
Okay.
But now
Okay.
it's not on Netflix, so we have to figure out how to do it.
All right. Well, I hope you have a good, season 15
Thank you.
experience as you get to the finale. Yeah. Now I want to see. The problem with talking about Supernatural is now I'm going to spend like the rest of the night just like looking up clips of different moments, like I don't know if I'll get through a whole episode, but I'm like, okay, I want to watch the Death's entrance when they're playing Oh Death in the
Oh,
background.
it's so good. Oh, I love that guy who plays Death also. Oh,
Ah,
he's so good.
yeah. Yeah, and that whole conversation when between him and Dean in that,
Oh, I'm getting
in that
goosebumps.
episode.
It's so
Yeah.
good. Oh my god.
Ugh. All right, listeners. The Supernatural Valentine's Day episode's out February 4th from Dynamite. All right, and Marvel Unlimited. Check out Strange Tales, and House of Harkness is going to be coming out in July. And yeah, if you're looking for a good YA romantic comedy, Pi Meta's Romance Revenge Plot. It came out in 2024. So check that out as well. Yeah, and I'll put links to Preeti's social media and website, and you can go and check out some of her other work and some of the other websites that she has written for. She's done a ton of stuff about Star Wars, and we didn't even talk about Star
I
Wars. I mean, so
know.
you're gonna have to come back on because as I record this in my basement with like where my kids' toys are, and I still have my Darth Vader head with my action figures from when I was a kid. So yeah, we're gonna have a second episode just so we can just talk about. We don't even have about comics. We'll just talk about Star Wars stuff for like 40 minutes. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And I mentioned Bobby. Shout out to my brother Bobby, the Cryptid Creator Corner's #1 most dedicated fan. Bobby listens to all my episodes. Yes, Bobby, just like I got you the Supernatural episode, I'll make sure you have your own copy of the Valentine's Day episode. I got him 2 because I got him the photorealistic cover of issue 1.
Nice.
As kind of like a joke. Like, look, I got you the one with their real picture on it. And I'm like,
They're
oh, I
so
did also get
handsome.
you. They're so cute, aren't they? If you'd let me fold your front cover, I could make them kiss. But I won't do that because Bobby's very careful about his comic books. But I did get him a comic cover as well.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so I'll make sure we both have an issue with our local comic shop of the Valentine's Day episode. I'm really looking forward to it. But Preeti, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. This has been a fantastic way to spend 48 minutes.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
All right, listeners, rate, review us, do all those things they tell you to do. You can find me on Blue Sky. I sometimes post things on TikTok about comics I'm reading. Coming up in, I think by the time you listen to this in a few episodes, I'm finally going to get out the Comic Book Yeti, our 2025, like our favorite comics. Yeah. Oh, and if you haven't yet, I'd really appreciate it if you took a look and pre-ordered my debut all ages graphic novel Penny and the Yeti is coming out through Paper Cuts on April 21st. Amber
Oh,
Aiken and I will be.
congrats.
Thank you very much. And now I have a podcast, so at the end of every episode, I can tell people about it. But
I do the same thing. I have like a Wheel of Time podcast, so there's no overlap in readership, but I'm like, hey, buy my
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, check it out. a kid's graphic novel, it'd mean a lot to me. All right. But listeners, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate all your support, listening to all our episodes this year. Preeti, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I really appreciate it. All right. Good night, everybody. I will see you next time.